Yo, what's up, what's up, what's up? It's me, Branca J, and you're here for another episode of Book Talk. If it's your first time here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, especially if you're a book lover like myself. Okay, we talk all things books. That's theories, analysis, that's reviews. We read contemporary classic. If it's in a book, we probably gonna talk about it. I anticipate a big year for 2025, so stick around. If you've already been here before, then you know the drill. Show me a little love, comment, like, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Today, I'm talking about Kate Chopin and her works. And I'm definitely going over her theme of self-discovery and, self-discovery and identity in the different works I've read. I've read Story of an Hour, The Awakening, Emancipation, A Life Fable, and A Pair of Silk Stockings. Now, a little bit about Kate Chopin. She is a late 19th century writer, and she dared to explore what many wouldn't talk about, a woman's search for identity. Kate Chopin paints portraits of women awakening to their true selves. They break free from society's constraints, and many of her works focus deeply on women's need for identity and self-discovery. Whether they move from a state of sleep to a growing awareness as found in The Awakening, or the unexpected realization of inner strength and the possibility of a life free from marital constraints, like we see in A Story of an Hour, or the unaccounted for discovery of self when greeted by temptation, like found in A Pair of Silk Stockings, or even that universal human desire for liberty that we see in the allegorical work Emancipation, A Life Fable. Each of these works have an underlying theme that talk about self, identity, and self-discovery in a way that no woman has really talked about before. Now, let's think about The Awakening first. What's up, my favorite book lovers and my bookworms? I want to stop this video just for a second to share some of my favorite bookish treats that won't break your bank. So you know that feeling when your TBR pile is getting quite large and giving you the side eye, but your hands are busy doing life? Yeah. Enter Audible. 2 free books just for trying it out. Then every month you'll get a book for the same price as that fancy coffee shop order that we can't deny. And then plus 30% off any extra books, because we always want an extra book. Now, for my bookworms who also love the gym, I got a special treat for you too. I have a class pass hookup that gives you 20 bonus credits. It's like getting extra chapters of your favorite books, but for workouts. And if you love me and you love this channel, you can always become a member. You'll get extra perks, behind the scenes content, crazy chaos, and some of the books that I read but I can't really share, like me and Camp. Check it out with me. All the links are in the description. I'm organized sometimes, so go down there and get acquainted and try it out. Until next time, you keep on reading, okay? Edna's journey starts off in New Orleans, in the Grand Isle. It's a little barrier of island off the coast, and it's right there by New Orleans. She's around a bunch of Creole people and a Creole culture. Edna Pontellier is our protagonist. She's a wife, she's a mother, and she seems to be sleepwalking through life. She does what's expected of her. If her husband says, come in the house, she says she would usually go, unaware, unaffected, just obedient. She had no thought or even idea of her own actions. She just moved and bent at the will of her husband and society's needs. However, she's on vacation. She meets a man named Robert. Robert was this youthful flirt, and he was pretty much known around town as flirting with anyone he met and taking to a woman every summer. But He intrigues Edna in a way that she had not been intrigued before. He listens to her. He's attentive to her emotional needs. She says that he could not tell her that he penetrated her mood and understood. But this line highlights how Robert is attentive to Edna's emotional state, even if he doesn't fully articulate his understanding of her feelings. Edna, after meeting Robert, began to consider her own desires. The text says, there was no human being whom she wanted near her except Robert. And she even realized that the day would come when he too would leave, and the thought of him would melt out of her existence, leaving her alone. Remember, Edna's married to someone else, so she's completely unavailable. But her love grows desperate, and because it's unrequited, she does suffer. She eventually ends her life in the sea, but the work itself shows the journey of self-discovery. She learns to swim. She learns to speak for herself, assert her needs, and desire something outside of motherhood and wifehood. She even realizes that motherhood doesn't really quite come that natural to her. Chopin beautifully captures a young woman coming into her own identity. Yeah, she comes off kind of selfish, kind of childish, but at least it's who she is and not who society wants her to be. She learns to define herself. This is the first step to self-actualization. The next story is a pair of silk stockings. Mrs. Summers' journey is a little bit different. She has her desires thrust upon her as she comes into an unexpected sum of money, about $15, which she says herself is quite a lot of money during this time. So don't judge her quite yet. She's absorbed in speculation and calculation, and she thought of every responsible use for this money. How she'll get her children dressed and buy a little extra lace here and a little pair of stockings there, and how her children will finally look neat and taken care of. But when she goes into that department store with that $15, she noticed a pair of silk stockings, and they're on sale. It says she feels the soft, shiny, luxurious things with both hands down, holding them up to see them glisten and to feel them glide serpent-like through her hands. After this, she no longer considers her children or her motherly duties. Though she had spent so long considering the use of the money, the fact of seeing and feeling the stockings, the text notes that she stops thinking at all. She seemed for the time to be taking a rest from that laborious and fatiguing function and to have abandoned herself to some mechanical impulse that directed her actions and freed her responsibility. Emphasizing a freedom in doing what one wishes for themselves as a matter of fulfillment and satisfaction. She revels at her feeling of importance, freedom, and a perception of her peers that had gone unknown to Mrs. Summers for quite some time. This also highlights the deep concern that motherhood places on a woman without ever bringing a real sense of fulfillment. Mrs. Summers' inner desire and discovery moves and encourages her as she throws off her plan and indulges in a life of better days. She goes to a cafe, she enjoys a show, she buys gloves, she lives it up. Even if it's these simple possessions, the mere material things don't quite matter as much as how it makes her feel, how it fulfills her, how she looks favorably upon society for once. And when she travels home that day, she finds herself wishing that that cable car never stops, that she never goes back to that simple life of laboring and thinking and going without and sacrificing. In writing this, Chopin cleverly highlights the simple pleasures that are lost upon women when they devote themselves to the role of wife and later mother. Though Mrs. Somers does not ask for a new lover like Mrs. Pontellier, the life of liberty and choice lives here in this story too. Let's think about Story of an Hour. Mrs. Mallard is home and she's given the news that her husband has died while traveling. Everybody expects her to be really troubled and they take gentle care for her heart condition. But instead, she has an unexpected realization of her own. She finds herself feeling quite strong and excited about the possibility of freedom and life free from marital constraints. She has this dull stare in her eyes, and she's almost afraid of the fact that she kind of feels excited to be free and not a wife anymore. She says she loved him, or sometimes she loved him, and she certainly had tried to be a good wife, but she felt this need to be free, this idea of liberty, this idea of possibilities. She had grown tired of bending to someone's imposing will that people feel the need to put on others, whether for the good or the bad. So she kind of talks about this need to just be free, a liberation, a freedom that scared her and excited her. And though she felt bad for feeling it, she does have this movement like victory of a goddess, it says, in fact. Chopin's Story of an Hour notes one quick onset of self-actualization and the liberation of a wife, even at her husband's thought of death. Of course, by the end of the story, we find out he hasn't died at all. And in fact, when she sees him, she dies. Her heart is overjoyed. What I want to note is that the husbands in these stories aren't unkind or harsh. In fact, they play their role as a supportive husband and father, fulfilling their own duties. It's the women's own needs, unprovoked need for freedom and self-discovery, that drive these feelings of trapped unhappiness and lead them towards an awakening desire for freedom. When we read Emancipation, a Life Fable, though written as an allegory, Chopin shares a universal human desire for self-discovery, freedom, and the pursuit of happiness in a more subtle, elusive form than her other works. First introduced to the reader by a caged animal with an invisible hand that feeds him, gives him water, provides him a bed, and kind of cares for him in every way, until one day his cage opens. Freedom is offered to this animal for the first time. And though everything is provided for him, he can't help but wonder what's out there. And though life is a little harder, having to supply your own food and suffer and fail, it's the choice and the pursuit of happiness that allures him more than the comfort and permanence of a cage. Although terrified in the unknown, the animal, deep in drawn breath, a bracing of strong limbs, takes a bound and is gone at its very first chance. It's as if Chopin is noting that the mere striving for a life of freedom is more alluring than that of simple provisions without choice. These works are written long before their time. The themes she talks about will carry on all the way into the feminist movement. It'll be a woman's calling cry for societal equality. Her work will highlight an opposing view of womanhood and how one may find fulfillment. Though she leaves us with more questions than answers, providing the reader no solution to a desire for more than caregiving and blind obedience to their husband, it does highlight that all women are not the same. We are not a monolith. Women can have their own wants, needs, and hopes for themselves. And some may not find satisfaction in bearing children and caring for a home. That perhaps their personhood can have an impact far greater than the role of mother and wife. The themes women make here are conscious, and they will show how in 150 years, women will choose to live alone, never marry, never bear children, choose careers. And though these choices remain controversial, and we've yet to encounter the true lasting impact they're going to have on American society, we can say Chopin walked so many women could run. Their enduring question now and then remains, how will women encounter true happiness? Perhaps they do not. Perhaps, like that animal, the goal is to simply live, seek, find joy, and suffer. The door of freedom is open to women in a way that has never been open before. And now that it has, that cage of societal norms remains forever empty. If you like this, keep on reading and keep on watching Book Talk with Brianka J. Thanks for coming.